have heard from people at Harvard who were in the senior administration with Larry that, you know, he claimed afterwards that he didn't understand the firestorm that his remarks would create. But apparently he shared what he intended to speak with a number of people who told him ahead of time that it would create a firestorm, and he decided to go ahead and do it anyway. And so it's not just that he was clueless, he was deliberately clueless. The final thing I want to say is we do know that there are gender differences between males and females. I can breastfeed, my husband can't. Or could. Actually, maybe men can. Well, I don't know. But there's lots and lots of research that shows that without, you know, that if you take a bunch of females and a bunch of males at various ages, that they will respond differently to different kinds of educational experiences. They will perform differently in different kinds of situations, including you know, SAT tests and all kinds of other things. And so there seems to be no doubt that, and there are analyses of male and female brains that tend to show that they work differently. So I would be the last person to say that there are no gender differences in how, on average, males and females interact with knowledge and the world around them and all those kinds of things. In fact, I talked today about the fact that women seem to suffer disproportionately from the imposter syndrome. There's also a ton of research that shows that if you take high-performing males and high-performing females, the females will tend to underestimate the performance and the males will tend to overestimate the performance. And that's true for low-performing females and low-performing males too. And, I mean, so there's just lots and lots of research that shows that males and females can learn differently, can test differently, can perform differently. The thing, however, is that in every single area where it has been said that males can't do something, for instance, become nurses and become nurturing nurses or whatever, it's turned out that with training, they've been able to learn to do those things. And similarly, every time people have said that women can't play chess or be great at mathematics or whatever it is, it's turned out that with training and with the appropriate sort of educational environment, they have been able to perform at the highest levels. So I think the thing that was so offensive about what Larry Summers said is that he's not particularly knowledgeable in this area. It's not an area that he spent a lot of time learning about. That he chose to say something that experts in the field would say was just irresponsible. I think that that's what caused the reaction. And I've heard from lots of people that he was going to be fired by Harvard anyhow, whether he said this or not, and it was because he was a very incompetent administrator and manager. So, you know, I don't really think he lost his job because he said this one particular thing. He lost his job because he wasn't doing his job well.
At the same time, everything you said is very important, and I appreciate it. But as somebody who teaches in one of our public institutions, I think also we need to be aware that the declining population is men. And more women in the public institutions and less men getting a higher education. So I think we need to address that problem as well, which is not, you know, it's not related to what you're saying, but I think people need to know it.
Right. I think that's a very good point. That, I mean, I'm not in favor of promoting women before men. I'm in favor of everybody having opportunities, and I agree that we really need to do a better job of interesting males in continuing their education and helping them be successful in doing so.
I'd just like to thank you for a splendid presentation, but to say that it also brings back a lot of memories. 58 years ago in an organic chemistry class, the 20 women out of 200 were seated in the front of the room. A desk was skipped, and then the men were seated. That was the support from Professor Hinsey. I remember well.
Wow. Thank you.
The bad old days.
You've spoken about the need to change the format of introductory computer science classes to make them so that they're problem-based, so that they're based on the issues that they can solve, rather than just learning as much programming as you can in the very beginning. But I think you'll find that when you actually look at the K-12 system, which is what people learn before they choose to go to an institute that's going to have a strong program in computer science or not, if they don't have that kind of system, that it's not going to be as, you're just not going to draw as wide a variety of people as if they get that exposure before they choose that kind of institution. And so how can we make it so that the K-12 system isn't feeling pressured from the universities who are either approving or not approving classes for admission and things like that, that have the basis already of we need to learn all this type of material. How can we change that so that they're still supported in making those kinds of changes?
That's a great question, too. There's currently an initiative right now being led by somebody called Jan Cooney at the National Science Foundation, who's a computer scientist, to they're calling it the gold standard AP computer science class, and to change the AP computer science class to be more like, for example, CS5, so that high schools are being supported and are being recognized for teaching an approach to computer science that would be much more attractive to a broader group of people, both males and females, and minorities as well. And so it's a big issue, and I think it will probably, MUD has just applied for a grant from NSF to develop a course for high schools that would fit with this. But the other thing is that AP Computer Science had the lowest number of test takers out of all the AP subjects, and of course the lowest percentage of females taking the test. And a lot of schools are actually canceling AP Computer Science. They're canceling all computer science classes, partly because of, there's a lot of things that feed into this. One is that there are very few computer science teachers who actually train in computer science. They tend to be the coach or the math teacher or the social studies teacher or what just some other teacher that was told that this is what they had to teach.